Well, it's finally happened. Mark Carney, the man who believed he could central bank his way into Canadians' hearts, has been shown the door. Once hailed as the polished economic mind who could restore order and vision to Canadian politics, Carney has now been ejected from Parliament following a decisive, non-confidence vote. This wasn't a narrow miss or a graceful exit. It was a political collapse with the velocity of a snowplow in January, sudden, messy, and impossible to ignore. Carney entered politics with the confidence of a Bay Street banker crashing a prairie town hall armed with graphs, jargon, and a belief that credibility on the world stage would translate to trust at home. But in the end, global admiration meant little to actual Canadian voters. His technocratic tone, corporate polish, and emphasis on climate finance over working-class concerns never quite resonated beyond elite circles. The tipping point came when promises of inclusive growth clashed with the reality of rising grocery prices, energy costs, and a public losing patience with abstract solutions. It's a powerful reminder. Canadian politics isn't a spreadsheet. It's not managed through forecasts or balanced solely on carbon metrics. It's built on trust, accountability, and the lived experiences of everyday people. Carney's fall wasn't just political, it was symbolic. It signaled a rejection of top-down policy agendas wrapped in polished language but detached from local realities. As one chapter ends, another begins. Because if one thing is clear, it's this. Voters aren't interested in being managed, they want to be heard. And when they're ignored, even the most celebrated names can find themselves outside the halls of power, watching history move on without them. Mark Carney, the Liberal Party's handpicked technocrat and supposed savior, entered federal politics with the swagger of someone who's chaired not one but two central banks. He's rubbed shoulders with global elites, hosted more summits than most Canadians have had double-doubles. And when it comes to climate finance, just ask him. He practically wrote the playbook. But here's the problem. No one in Moose Jaw, Mississauga, or Medicine Hat cared. While Carney was giving keynote speeches on monetary tightening and macroeconomic volatility, ordinary Canadians were standing in grocery aisles, staring down receipts, wondering how cheddar cheese became a luxury item. But instead of adjusting, Carney doubled down, rolling out a $130 billion deficit plan filled with buzzwords like green transitions, equity initiatives, and ESG investment. It was governance by spreadsheet, not democracy. Even his own caucus began whispering, "This guy makes Justin Trudeau look relatable." Enter Pierre Poilievre. The man Carney once waved off as populist background noise quickly became the voice of a disillusioned nation. While Carney hosted webinars on carbon offset markets, Poilievre was walking through truck stops talking to Canadians about mortgages, gas prices, and the slow-burning disaster that had become federal governance. Carney showed up in tailored suits, speaking like a walking WEF PowerPoint. Poilievre showed up in jeans, grabbed a Tim's, and said, "Let's axe the tax, build the homes, and bring back common sense." And suddenly, lifelong Liberal and NDP voters started listening. Nurses, farmers, grocery clerks, college grads still stuck in their parents' basements. They didn't see Carney's grand vision. They were living inside his inflation. That's when everything shifted. It wasn't one scandal or one moment. It was the realization that Carney's Canada wasn't built for them. And they were done pretending it was. In rural Alberta, moose herds reportedly formed a thumbs-up formation. In Newfoundland, cod fishermen toasted with screech. In Scarborough, a man screamed, "Thank God it's finally over," while clutching a mortgage renewal notice like a lottery ticket. And Mark Carney? He's reportedly launching a podcast titled Quantitative Easing for the Soul. Episode 1. Why You Were Wrong and I Was Always Right. Audience? 3 listeners, his cat, and 2 consultants he overpaid. He's been offered a think tank gig in Europe where he can continue lecturing on climate finance to people still pretending to care. Rumor has it, he's also penning a memoir, From Bank to Blank, My Journey into Irrelevance, but this was never just about Carney. This was about Canada, about a country tired of being governed by elites fluent in Davos but clueless about propane bills. About ordinary people who don't want sermons on carbon offsets, they want to afford groceries, raise their kids, and drive to work without being punished for it. It was about Danielle Smith invoking Section 92 to defend Alberta's resources, while Carney called it unconstitutional. In short, Canada spoke loudly, and this time, the elites had no spreadsheet big enough to ignore it. It wasn't just political overreach, it was a national correction. A governor general finally recognized that leadership isn't forged in spreadsheets or Davos panels, it's built on public trust. And now, with Pierre Poilievre at the helm, Canada's exhale is audible. The bureaucratic smog is clearing, the carbon tax shell games are ending, and Ottawa's cathedral of groupthink? Cracked wide open by a guy who actually knows how to balance a checkbook. Canadians are done whispering. They're speaking out loud and proud. One man in a greasy spoon diner said it best. Carney thought Canada was a spreadsheet. Pierre reminded us it's a country. That's the whole story. Mark Carney came. He lectured in acronyms. He left in disgrace. And in the vacuum he left behind, a real movement emerged. One rooted not in ideology but in grit. Not in abstract theories but in the lived realities of working Canadians. This isn't just a political shift. It's a democratic reckoning. A reminder that managing a nation takes more than graphs and jargon. It takes heart. So if you're one of the millions who believe that real victory is earned at the ballot box, not the boardroom, smash that like button, share this video, and subscribe. Because the Carney era is over and the common sense revolution, it's just getting started.